This is She Goes Beyond, and I'm your host, Victoria Fregis. Here we're dedicated to changing the status quo and building a powerful community of women who can do it all. Who says you only have to be one thing? So grab your rod or your bow and tune in to the stories of women who love the same things that you do. You never know, you might just meet your next best friend. Remember that one teacher from K through 12 who only gave out good vibes? The one who pushed you to be a better human, work hard, and stay out of trouble? Maybe you even had one who encouraged you to chase your dreams. I'd like to take a wild guess and say Gabby is that teacher for many students. She recognized a gap in the system and spoke up. She brought a course into a school that was focusing hard on academics and not remembering to give kids enough space to grow creatively. She took her passion and turned it into an opportunity for others to learn. And that is all I'm going to leave you with. Please welcome Gabby Goes. We can move on, Gabby.
Let's do it.
Fun. Okay, so pickleball. Did you just start that, or how long have you been doing that?
Oh, I'm like one of those people I'm just a bandwagoner. So I started playing, I don't know, like a year and a half ago. And I just miss playing competitive sports so
Yeah.
much. And like, oh, there's pickleball in my life. And I play like tournaments and stuff. And I play in a couple leagues during the week. So it's just fun. It's
Oh
like
my
way
gosh.
more athletic than people think it is. And it's obviously competitive. And I just love it.
You're like legit into it.
Yeah, it's like sort of pathetic, but I also really love it.
You're someone like me who just like makes anything that they decide to do their complete identity.
Yeah,
Now
pretty
you're
much. And then it'll
competitive
last for
pickleball.
like 3 months and then I'll move on to something else. But pickleball's lasted, so
Yeah.
I'll give it that.
Fun. I love pickleball. We did it. Oh, I've played a couple times. Like we were in California on a girls trip last year or the year before, and we took it up. And I was like, wait, I'm also super competitive. So any sport you put me in, I'm going to try to win and
Yep,
kick your ass. Like can't just
100%.
can't just play it for fun.
Yeah, no, I'm not into that. Like, oh, let's just have fun or let's join a volleyball league and just like have fun and drink beer. I'm like, no, I'm playing to win.
Oh yeah. You just pick up your game here.
Yes.
Fun. Okay, so is there indoor courts or just outdoor courts?
Well,
Both?
there's both, but my
Oh,
leagues are indoor and but I
okay.
also play outdoor too.
Yeah.
So
Oh my
yeah,
gosh, so fun.
yeah, it's a
Love
lot of
that.
fun.
Okay, well, Gabby, welcome to the pod. Thank you for
Yeah,
joining me.
thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I've been just waiting to get you on here, so I'm super pumped we could make it work.
Yeah.
Um, Tell the girls who you are, where you're from, a little bit about yourself, and then we'll jump into it.
Sure. So I'm Gabby Goes. I live in central Wisconsin. I've been a teacher here for the past 12 years, and I've just been like an outdoor aficionado pretty much my whole life. I think just like many people, I started hunting and just fishing at a really young age by the influence of like my father and my grandfather both. And I say this all the time, but I'm just my happiest, best self when I'm outside. So whether it's even walking my dog or fishing or hunting or like I'm a big plant nerd too, just like walking through the woods and looking at plants. Like I'm just that's I'm just in my element. So yeah, I took up musky fishing about probably like 6 or 7 years ago. And I was always a multi-species angler before that. And now I tell people like it's a disease that you catch. And now my whole kind of like outdoor activities are revolved around musky fishing. So that's been kind of my most recent obsession.
Yeah, I love it. So, when you say your dad kind of got you into it, what were you doing as a little girl? Like, what did you do with your dad?
Oh my gosh, everything. So he was always a big walleye guy, and I was just in the boat since like a very young age. And it's weird because I was never like a good sleeper, and even now sometimes I struggle just like getting my sleep together. But whenever I was in the boat fishing, it would be like the most calm environment for me, and it would always like make me want to take a nap. And not because I was bored, but just because it was such like a comfort thing.
Mhm.
So we were always in the boat. We had like a summer cabin up in northern Wisconsin that we would go to and fish for a week every year. We took a few Canadian trips, like the the really cool like fly-in ones where you're in a
Yeah.
remote, sort of island. Did that several years. And my dad was also a big waterfall hunter, and so was my grandpa. So he actually took me on like my first youth hunts in the Horicon Marsh when I was, like very young. And those memories just like resonate with me. And my grandpa also traveled to Colorado and out west for elk hunting. So when I was in high school, I would go with him. I did that for a few years just because it's so much cheaper, like to get a youth elk tag. So I would
Mhm.
always, hike the mountains with him. So just really good memories with just kind of, the male side of my family, just with outdoors in general.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that. So do you have your own boat?
So I had a pontoon boat. It was just
Okay.
kind of like a leisure boat. I live like right basically on the Wisconsin River here. So I would use that to kind of rat around. I don't have my own fishing boat currently. That's kind of like my next project. I
Yeah.
was always, sort of with somebody that had a fishing boat. So now it's time. I just sold the pontoon boats, and now it's time to kind of switch gears. And that's my next goal here, to buy a fishing boat and start doing some of that more like independently.
Heck yeah. That'd be
Yeah.
awesome. So does your dad live close so that you guys can do some of that stuff still?
So he lives in Green Bay, which is nice. It's only like, I don't know, an hour and 40 minutes from where I'm at in central Wisconsin. And obviously there's great waterfall and, great fishery with Green Bay there. So
Yeah.
it's nice to get around and fish with him. So I do that pretty frequently, but I have obviously, this community in general is really great, and social media helps you meet people. So I do a lot of traveling, especially in the summer, whether it's to Minnesota or Canada or northern Wisconsin. And I just kind of, that is, I will say, one nice thing about not having a boat is like I travel so much and I get to fish with so many different types of people, which I absolutely love.
Hmm.
I'm just a big believer that you learn so much fishing with all different types of people. And I think that's definitely helped my game just like advance so much further quicker. So I do like that aspect of it for sure.
Yeah, you're gonna be like a professional once you get your own boat. You'll be like, oh, I've got all these
Or it's going
tricks
to be
in.
like back to square one.
No, no, it won't. You'll have all these tricks in your back pocket and you'll be like, oh, I learned this from this person and this from this
Yeah,
person.
for
Oh, I
sure.
love that. Okay, so musky fishing. Did your dad musky fish?
No, not really. And it's sort of like this running joke in my family because my dad's a big walleye guy. And,
Yeah.
sometimes walleye guys and muskie guys don't
Mm.
always,
Hmm.
coincide. But I've caught muskies in the boat with him and vice versa, but it was never intentional, like you catch them when you're walleye fishing or bass
Yeah.
fishing.
Yeah.
So when I sort of converted, like, 6 or 7 years ago, he was sort of like, all right, Gabby, what's going on here? So no, he was not always a musky guy. He's caught them again his whole life, but I'm converting him a little bit. It's a little tricky because obviously he's older and he does have some health stuff going on, but he will not admit it even to this day that he doesn't like musky fishing. But ever since I started musky fishing, he's like bought all this gear and bought
Oh.
rods and is like, he can't buy a bucktail without modifying it because that just, he has to put his little touch on it.
Oh.
So he just, claims that he bought all that stuff just because, well, if I'm fishing with you, you're going to force me to musky fish. I'm like, no, you don't have to, Dad. Like, you can walleye fish while I'm musky fishing. Like, we've done
Right?
that a couple times. And sometimes I think it's actually sort of a bonus because he'll be catching walleyes. And I think if we're in a good musky spot, bringing walleyes to the boat on more than one occurrence has like brought me some action too. So it's interesting how that works. But
Yeah.
yeah, we're doing
Yeah.
a lot more of that in Green Bay. Like, you can't live in Green Bay and not musky fish with me, Dad. Like,
Right.
this is what we're gonna do.
Yeah. 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 Okay. So from that, then, what really set you off on muskies? Like, when was the first time you went musky fishing?
So it was actually due to a guy that I was seeing, like again, that 6 or 7 years ago. He
Yeah.
was like just primarily a muskie fisherman. And
Okay.
as you sort of convert to muskies, like that's pretty much all you want to fish for. So obviously I love fishing and being outdoors. So it was sort of just kind of like a natural transition because he wasn't fishing for anything else. And if I was going to fish with him, like I was going to have to learn how to musky fish. So that's kind of how that took place.
Okay. Okay. I love it. So you went out with him and then you're like, wait, this is something you got rid of him, but then you're like, wait, I still want to keep the musky fishing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, that's super cool. So what do you feel like you took away from like learning from him? But like, so yeah, let's just start there. Like, what did you take from him? Like, what did you leave that with? Like, just the typical, I'm trying to get what I'm trying to get to here is
Yeah.
like, how did you, I've heard, and I have not asked you this yet, but you love a certain bait. Did you
Yeah.
figure out that you love that bait because of like that starting out, or have you morphed into loving that bait? And you can
Yeah.
talk
I've
about that
definitely
bait.
morphed into loving that bait. So I'm assuming you're talking about Red October tubes. I'm
Yes.
like a huge tube girl.
Yes.
No, I actually didn't like fall in love with that bait until probably 2 or 3 years ago. So, well, obviously I learned pretty much the basics from this guy. So he, taught me how to figure eight, just like the basics of musky fishing, stuff
Sure.
like that. But there was kind of like some frustration level for sure because I was always like I had a good background in fishing and I was always raised and brought up to like fish new water, try new things, don't do the same thing that everybody else is doing, like
Yeah.
don't be the average Joe Blow. So that's how I also musky fished. Like even though I knew the basics and even though I was told and had like trust into okay, you should do this, the other part of me was like, well, I kind of want to try this.
Hmm.
And like my attitude is like, I don't really care if I don't want to, like, if I don't catch something, that's okay. But I also want to try to give it like my own personal spin because I do have that fishing background. So it's not like I'm a way beginner and I'm like, no, screw you. I'm not going to try that just because you told me to. I
Right.
mean, maybe a little bit of it
Yeah,
sometimes,
same.
but also I just love trying new things. So I, caught fish on just like baits that are not sort of the norm, but obviously I owe it to him because he's the one that got me into musky fishing and I
Yeah.
absolutely have fallen in love with it. But yeah, just like the tube and the rubber game has really just sort of like, I don't know, exploded in my musky fishing arsenal the past 2 or 3 years. And I think what originally like influenced me was so I bought a fishing trip with Doug.
Hmm.
Um, like 3 years ago as a Christmas gift for this person because he always wanted to fish with him. So I'm like, this is a great gift. It sort of benefits both of us. Like we get to learn from the best. And I threw tubes with him on that first trip, and I had a 3 fish day in Minnesota on a tube. And I'm like, this bait's great. Like where has this been my whole life? I need to try this thing out. And I actually had some Red October tubes like in my box at that point. I just didn't throw them very often. And then ever since that trip, I've just been throwing them more, and it's just like become my number one confidence bait. And even times where I fish with people and they're like, "Nah, I don't think this is a tube bite." It's like, no, I'm gonna throw my tube because that's what I have confidence in, and I feel like I do really well with them. And there's nothing like obviously a rubber bite, but people know that it's like one of my favorite ways to catch a muskie aside from the figure eight, of course. But
Yeah.
yeah, I have a problem with tubes. It's
Yeah.
like not healthy.
No, I love it. And I think too, I never, I mean, I don't know if I've ever even thrown a tube. And
Yeah.
I've never been with Kyle when he's thrown one either. I feel like people either throw them or they don't. Like you're either
Yeah.
using it or you're not.
Yeah, I've coined this term tube boob because I will just like rip it until my skin is just like hamburger meat. And I have like this rash, in between my armpit and my side boob and I just gets raw in the summer, but I just can't stop. It's great. And
Oh my God.
I'm not just like some people are kind of light with when they rip the tube and then they reel their slack and they just pull and reel and pull. And I'm kind of ripping it pretty aggressively. That's how I like to work them. So
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Give us some more tips. So you really like to, you really like to rip it hard. So
Yeah. I
all the
also
way
really
in.
I like the willow blade on the back too versus the Colorado. I know the Colorado slows it down a little bit more, but I really like my tube to be really happy and bounce around. And that willow blade, I just feel like gives it that much more speed. I think this is probably, I don't know, I don't want to say against mainstream, but I really love the Ninja. I love the 7.5. And I know a lot of people have a lot of luck on the 10-inch monster tube, but I love the little Ninja. And I don't know, like I'm always kind of on the side of smaller baits, but that Ninja tube is just, it's great. And then I kind of bounce around too between a mid rig and a hybrid rig. I never really use the shallow and I don't have any use for, the deep rig, but yeah, it's sort of one of those things too, where when you find the right rig, it's like magic because some just run a little bit better than others, but yeah, I love
Yeah.
them. It's like one of the stupidest looking baits in the water. It's just like how does this resemble a fish in any way, shape, or
Right.
form? It's
Right.
so weird looking, but fish seem to like it.
They like it. Yeah. You have really good luck on it.
Yeah, I do. It's
Or
been nice to
I
me.
don't want to call it good luck. You're really good at working the bait.
Yeah, it's fun. I
Yeah.
mean, there's definitely luck in it for sure, but yeah, I've definitely figured things out a little bit more than when I first started throwing them for sure.
Hmm. That's awesome. Um, okay, I want to just go back a little bit. You went to school to be a teacher.
No, actually, I did not. I
Oh,
moved to central Wisconsin and I was trying to pursue a degree in wildlife ecology
okay.
at UWSP. So obviously, anybody that knows Point knows that they are like the College of Natural Resources. So I came here for that purpose. And I was never just like a huge scholar. So it's sort of ironic that I'm a teacher now. Um, and I just kind of like farted around a lot my first 2 years of college and I was on academic probation like my second year and I was like, okay, Gabby, you have to get your poop in a group. I just was so bored in my classes. I was anticipating like going out to Schmeekley Reserve and like walking through the forest and taking these samples and doing all this like stuff where I wanted to be hands-on. In my first 2 years, I was just like in the classroom, just like talking about stuff and I just I just so was not engaged at all. So I ended up switching degrees to an art management degree, which honestly, if I'm being just like transparent, it was sort of like a fallback
Yeah.
because I mean, I've always been artistic and I love art, but it was one of those degrees that wasn't going to challenge me as much. And I knew I was going to end up graduating with that degree. So I got my undergrad with a Bachelor of Arts. And then I ended up working for the Boys and Girls Club locally because they had a position open for like an art director. And my resume or application got mixed up somehow. I don't know. That's what they said. So instead of applying for the art director position, I did an interview for an at-risk program. It was like a county funded program for young kids that were going to be placed out of home into like foster care.
Mm.
So if they completed this after school program and they were successful, then they were able to stay in the home. And all of it was like court ordered and adjudicated social workers, that sort of thing. And I loved it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is something that I really enjoy. Like, is this my calling? So I went back and got my master's in education. And then I've been a teacher for the past 12 years. So definitely spent a lot of money in education that I didn't use, but sometimes that's just the way life goes. And
Yeah.
now I work with like that same group of at-risk students at an alternative school. And I love it.
Okay, so you got out of the boys club and now you're at an alternative school.
Yep.
This is what I want to spend like a good chunk of this podcast talking about because this is what I'm super interested in.
Yeah.
So tell us more about what you're doing now.
Yeah. So I work at an alternative high school. I think a lot of times people have like sort of this, there's a stigma sometimes around
Yeah.
alternative high schools, and they think like all the students are really troubled or bad. And that's not the case at all. There's like such a wide variety of reasons why students may go to an alternative high school. One of them being is that just the local school in this area is huge. It's like a campus of almost 2,000 students, 10 through 12. So it's like really overwhelming for some students. But yeah, they're behind in credits for whatever reasons, whether it's socioeconomic stuff, whether it's family stuff, whether they've been transient and moved all over the state, or whatever it is, they come to us to help get them back on track to graduate. So I have two like half day programs that I teach here. So the school day itself is also shortened. But what I've always felt like was lacking within this school was those elective based courses, those like hands-on courses. So our school doesn't receive a lot of funding and we're so much like credit recovery based
Hmm.
that our students miss out on some of the things like the auto class or the woodshop class or the cooking, whatever it is, or art. And from what I've experienced, I think we have such a cool niche group of students that like thrive in that type of environment. Like the reason they weren't successful is they couldn't just what I call sit and get, just sit at a table and listen to a teacher. They needed to be engaged. They needed to do stuff with their hands. So obviously fishing is a huge passion of mine. So I approached my administrator and I'm like, hey, if I can get some money, like, am I able to teach a fishing class for some science credit and some biology, stuff like that. And she said I was. So I just worked really hard. The past couple years, my classroom budget for this course is $200, which like $200 doesn't get you much of anything nowadays. But um, yeah, I ordered some rod building kits from Mudhole Tackle Company last year. It was sort of like my first year doing it, and we built 24 multi-species rods. The class met once a week and I took students throughout the entire building, not just my class. And it was so successful. Our attendance rates like flew through the roof. We had so much engagement. Like every student was successful. We ended up doing this field trip at the end of the year. We took every student out fishing. Every single student caught a fish.
Oh,
It was just so amazing to see all these students get so engaged, and even ones that weren't necessarily, you know, like had any experience fishing. So it's
mhm.
just a really cool program that I hope I can continue for, years to come. And after I chatted with some community members and talked about my class just at some local musky clubs, I got so many donations and funding this year that I was able to expand and actually build some musky rods with the multi-species stuff this year. And it's been such a hit, and it's been so fun to teach. It's like just what I look forward to every week.
How rewarding.
Very, yeah.
Oh my
And it's
gosh.
just, it means so much. Like, people donate and people like comment about the class and stuff. And I just don't think they realize how much of an impact it has like on these students' lives. Like it could literally be like life changing
Mm,
because they don't have the privilege like you and I have had to have somebody influence us and get us out, fishing or hunting or whatever it is. So for them to get that and experience that and have positive hobbies to help keep them out of trouble or whatever it is
yeah.
like so, so important for them.
Yeah. Okay, so you only get $200 to run this class. It's obviously costing more than that.
Yeah.
How are you getting like, are you able to do any fundraising in any way to like support the course?
Yeah. So it's really cool. I think a lot of people, and I don't want this to sound bad, but I think a lot of people like make excuses for stuff like I can't do this because I don't have money for this, or I can't do this because I don't have the time. If you are truly passionate about something, like you will just find a way to make it work.
Hmm.
And I was just so jazzed about this class that I put myself out there in the community and I talked to like clubs, and I just obviously word of mouth is huge, and I just talked to a lot of people that have fishing influences in central Wisconsin, and I did a little presentation at our local fishing club and muskie club. And after I did that, people were just like coming in and they're like, I want to help. Like, what can I do? And the local club here in Stevens Point, 12 Apostles, donated $1,200, actually $1,200 at the beginning of this year. And then they gave us another donation to help pay for reels and stuff. But
Oh,
just when you can actually talk to people and show them the results of what's happening, people want to help others, especially when they know it's going to something that they can see the results of.
mhm.
So, they've been huge donors, and then people from that club have referred me to other people within the community. And then I did a podcast earlier this year, not a musky podcast, and I
Yeah.
talked a little bit about the class on there. And I had some people reach out to me on Instagram, and it's just been so, so cool to see the musky community come together for a really good cause. And yeah, it's been really incredible.
Yeah. So worth it. Um, that's amazing. How can people, and we can say this again later, but just in case, how can people donate? Like, what's a way that they can support you if they're listening right now and they're like, oh yeah, that's something I'm totally interested in.
Sure. I would just say send me a message on Instagram or Facebook, and then, I'll give you my contact information at school, and then we can just kind of chat about like what our current needs are and how you want to donate, whether that's like old gear or baits or rods, line, whatever it is, or cash donation, like, whatever it is, I'll, keep you posted on what's going on with the class. And that
Yeah.
that was another huge thing is that we purchase fishing licenses for all these students too, because obviously money is a barrier with a lot of
Yeah.
these students. So to make them, put an account through Go Wild and get them a fishing license too is really important. So it's like all those little pieces of the puzzle that we got to get together.
Yeah. So do you have to like ask the parents permission to do that and then they just say yes most of the time, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I have a lot of non-traditional students, so some of my students are actually 18, so they can kind
Okay.
of do that themselves. But yes, I also do contact families and stuff and get that information. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So what's it like coming up with the course material? Like, I mean, maybe there isn't really course material because you're building rods, but like, what does that look like? So, and are there multiple courses? Like you're doing the rod building one, but do you teach another one?
So I've only done the rod building course last year and this year. And last year, like I was like so gung ho to teach this course, and then I'm like, wait, Gabby, you don't know how to build a rod. Like you better figure this out before you teach all these high school teenagers what you're doing. So it's very much like a learn with the students.
Yeah.
But I'm like very much a teacher that's like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Like, I'm not going to
Yeah.
fake it. Like, let's figure it out together. We're doing this together. So the actual company comes with like a video series and a really nice handbook on how to do things. But obviously, videos can only do so much. So it was
Mhm.
definitely trial and error last year, building the rods. But since we only meet once a week, the majority of our time, like over 75% of our classes, were just rod building, just so we had enough time to get everything done just for the spring semester. This year, now that I have things down a little bit more and a couple tricks that can speed up the process, I've expanded the class to teach them more about, tactics on how to target walleyes or bass or muskies. We did a whole class about how to properly handle fish. And Team Rhino Outdoors, huge shout out to them. They supplied students with like boxes and, I was debating on whether or not I wanted to get pliers or they're like the grabbits, but they're like a generic, more inexpensive version on how to
Yeah.
get the hook to the fish's mouth, and then a jaw spreader, things like that. Like all the right things that you're going to need to catch muskies. They donate all that stuff. So that was
Oh,
massive. But, teaching them how certain baits work, like how, a double dog works versus a bucktail versus a hard bait, like all that stuff. We had a guest speaker come in from Walleye Warriors and talk about how to target walleyes with soft plastics or crankbaits and all that stuff. So it has expanded into more, not only building a rod, but how to use the tools that you're given. And then I also taught a class on how to read like a contour map, like what does this represent in this body of water, and how to look up maps of the area, and how do I know like what is a point and where there's a weed edge and all that stuff, so that they have hopefully the basics to try and figure it out a little bit.
oh, that's amazing, Gabby.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So right now I only teach it in the spring. I would love to teach it as a full year course, but I just have to make sure that I can, have the funding and whatnot for
Yeah.
that. And it's nice to do in the spring because then we can end with a field trip. And first
Right.
semester, you end in the dead of winter. So
Right.
yeah, got to figure that out still.
I mean, yeah, I suppose if it's a rod making, maybe you should teach him how to spool a tip up and then you could do that in the
I,
in the
I've thought
winter.
about that, but I'm also like, I don't want to be a poser. I'm just not a big ice fisherman. And I don't know, it just doesn't get me going like musky fishing does. And I want to be like passionate about what I'm teaching. And
Yeah.
I just ice fishing, it's great, but it just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm tired.
We don't need to introduce a bad habit. Really, what comes with ice fishing is drinking. So don't no need to ice fish.
Nothing
No.
against it. Don't come at me, but it's just not my thing.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure, for sure. You can only do so much, right?
Yeah.
Um, okay, so that was one of my questions. So you didn't even know how to make a rod to begin with. So
No.
you've been learning with them.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Absolutely.
awesome. And
Yeah.
so do you feel like the kids are super engaged in
Yes.
the course? Yeah. Yeah, they
Yeah.
just
And
soak up
it's
the
so
content.
rewarding. Like it's very hard. A good handful of our students have, like attention deficit disorders or things like that, to
Yeah.
where for them to sit there and listen for more than 15 minutes is like you can just see the life get sucked out of them. And I had this class a couple weeks ago. We took a break from rod building and I just did a class on like musky stuff, just talking about the different baits and talking about how to handle them. And I'm like, oh, these students are gonna be bored out of their gourd and I'm gonna like ruin muskies for them. And I was so taken aback how everybody was engaged for the full hour. And then I'm actually going to post it on social media in the next couple of weeks. But I was like interviewing students afterwards and asking them, okay, like, what does the bucktail do? Like, how does this bait run? And I was just it was like one of those teacher moments that I don't have very often where I was just like, oh my gosh, like they really listened to what I had to say. They retained everything. They remembered stuff that I couldn't believe they remembered. It was just like really incredible. So,
To be so proud of the kids too for remembering all those things and being, I don't know, finding kind of a passion in it, but also, Gabby, you should be so proud of yourself because that means you shared that with them in a way where they could comprehend it, they could understand
mhm.
it, they wanted to keep learning.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that. And I swear, like high schoolers, they can sniff out somebody that's disingenuine from a mile
Hmm.
away. And if
Hmm.
you're teaching something that you're not passionate about, or you're just like, oh, I gotta get through this, you've lost them. But if you're
Hmm.
passionate, even if it's about like knitting or something. If you're really passionate, like you're going to get people engaged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
I don't
so
know if
when
I would get
you're
engaged with knitting though, but anyways, you get the point.
yeah. When so at the end of like in spring, when you guys are done making your odds, the kids get to keep them.
Yes, absolutely. They
Yes.
end up with a rod. They end up with obviously a real full spool of line. They end up with then a tackle box
Oh,
with all like the basics, again, with like the fish release tools, leaders, lures, all that stuff.
I'm just thinking how $200 doesn't even cover one kid.
No, oh my gosh, our rod kits this year were $2,000.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And that was just the rods. That's not the line. That's not the reels. That's not the baits.
Right.
That's not anything. That's why I'm so grateful to the fishing community to help us out because it
Yeah.
really wouldn't even come close to happening if it wasn't for everybody
Yeah.
kind of getting together and
Yep. Yep.
uh,
Keep using your voice. I feel like people want to help. They just don't know where to help, right? So that
yeah,
you just have to keep plugging away at that.
I agree.
Oh, that's so awesome. So when you take the kids out, what did that look like going fishing with them? Was it like mad chaos? How did you find enough? Did you take them out on boats or?
Yes. So actually, it was nice because last year I still had my pontoon boat. So I took out a couple of students on my boat, and then we had some local community members that came out. So we had a fleet of like 6 or 7 boats. So each boat guide had 1 or 2 students in their boat. And I'm not going to lie, I was really nervous, especially taking students on my pontoon because I had my dog on there too. And I'm lucky enough to bring my dog to work every day. And the students just love him, but I'm like, a student's gonna get a hook in the ear, or like my dog's gonna end up with a hook in them. Like it's gonna, but nobody had a hook in their hand. But I was super nervous because there was some sketchy casting. There was a couple close calls, but we made it work. But this year, our danger level is heightened a little bit with the musky rods and the big musky baits. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a casting class, practice class before we go out this year, just because I'm like, I don't want one of these poor volunteers to like lose an eye. It'd be pretty interesting in a few weeks here, but we'll see.
Fun. Okay, so that's coming up.
Yeah, yep. End of May, we're gonna do our field trip, and yeah,
That is
we'll
so
see what happens.
fun.
I told all
Cool.
my students, like last year, everybody caught a fish, but just know that that's not gonna happen this year. For
No.
those of you that are musky fishing, if we see one, I'm gonna be jacked. But just know that that's what this sport is about a lot of times.
Yeah. Do they seem to like comprehend that piece or do they think you're just trying to
Yeah, I mean, I think they do, but I think it's a whole nother thing experiencing it
yeah.
because even when I first started musky fishing, I'm like, yeah, I'm a pretty good angler. I was very humbled my first couple of years. I was so infuriating, and I'm like, why do people do this? Why
Hmm.
do people cast all day and like not see a fish? Like, what is the purpose of this? And now it's just, and I think, you mentioned you were really competitive too. I think it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm not going to let this fish beat me. I'm going to figure out how to outsmart them. Like, I love a challenge. I
Hmm.
love figuring things out. So it just goes hand in hand.
Yeah. It's that passion piece.
Yeah.
For sure, for sure. Well, how cool. Do you teach anything over summer or do you get the summers off?
So I know that's like kind of one of those hot buttons that I get frustrated about because everybody thinks teachers have the summers off. And I'm like, ugh. Anyways, okay, that was a little bit of a rant. I teach until almost the end of June, and then I come back like second week in August. So I have all of July off, which is super nice. But I do teach summer school most summers, and then we usually start back up, like I said, mid August. So I'm doing what I really want to do this summer. I have to get some buy-in, but I want to do like an environmental science class where we go around and we basically just pick up trash. I'm like a real weirdo about picking up litter. I
Yeah.
hate seeing litter anywhere, like just outdoors on trails or boat launches, wherever. Like if I see a piece of trash, I gotta pick it up. So I figured that'd be a good way for us to have like a community service piece of our school, but also get outdoors, also learn about different plants or trails that they can hike and bike on in the summer. So that's kind of my goal for June.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. All around, just being outdoors, getting to do anything to
Yeah.
get outdoors. Can we pick up trash?
Well, and what I'm gonna do, so here's my plan is I'm gonna buy those little like long grabbers with clamps.
Yeah,
I'm like they're just gonna do it because they're all gonna want to like pinch each other with it. So it's a
absolutely.
win-win. As long as they have that and they don't have to bend over, like they'll be fine.
Yeah, good ergonomics. Let them keep standing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, how cool. Yeah, that's a great idea. I love that. I love getting kids outside, especially like you said, if the majority of them are not being raised in a home like we were,
Yeah.
um, they're probably not getting a whole lot of time outside.
Mm-mm.
If their parents aren't involved in the outside, they're probably in the house most days. So,
Yeah, for
what a
sure.
blessing to have your course.
Yeah, I love it. I feel very like grateful that I get to do that for sure.
Yeah, fun. Well, what fun trips do you have planned this year? Are you doing anything fun?
Yeah, I'm doing all sorts of stuff. I'm actually doing something different. So I'm going up to Canada end of June for Musky opener with some family members. And I'm going to be fishing the Indian Lake chain. I've never fished there before, so I'm super stoked about that. Definitely have some Lake of the Woods trips to visit Jessie and fish with her up
Yeah.
there. And I I always fish with John and Ashley Holmgren too. I usually fish, northern Minnesota with them. But this year we might do a Canadian trip as well. So just got a lot of Canadian stuff planned out. It's hard not to, want to fish there for sure.
Yeah.
And then I have a trip that I'm really excited for next winter. I'm going to fish down in Virginia with, I believe it's Sam Scott, do some river fishing down there that I'm pretty stoked about. So there's all
Fun.
sorts of things planned.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. Gotta have something to look forward to.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. How'd you meet Ashley and John?
Just through social media.
Yeah.
I was talking to her, I think, for a couple years, and we've always talked about fishing together. And then it just worked out randomly one weekend or something where John didn't have clients, and I just made the trip up to Minnesota and we fished. And it's like every
Cool.
time we get together and fish, we always find good fish, and
Yeah.
it's just so much fun. And I feel like I'm just spoiled fishing in Minnesota and Canada, and I come back to Wisconsin, I'm like, all right, here we're going back to the small fish, the 36 inchers. It's still fun, but it's just, I feel like a whole nother caliber in Minnesota and
Yeah.
Canada, aside from Green Bay. But
Yeah.
Green Bay's, it's a tough fishery. You just casting into the abyss like forever, and it gets really monotonous. And
Hmm.
I like bouncing around lakes and having scenery to look at. So
Yeah.
I prefer fishing in places like that.
Yeah. I've never fished Green Bay. Obviously, everyone knows who Musky fishes. It's a great lake, but I also feel the same way. I'd rather see structure and you know,
Yeah.
be, I don't know, follow anything. Just I need to see
Yeah.
something. I need to keep myself busy.
Yeah. It's such a love-hate relationship because I've been a part of some really big fish out there. So it's like, how can you not fish here,
Yeah.
knowing that there's just absolute like megalodons underwater? But at the same time, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm just sitting out here getting fried for 12 hours casting in a fishbowl. And I'm just like, why do I do this? And then you net 55 and you're like, oh, okay, this is why I do this. Like, this
Hmm.
is what it's about.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure. So who did you those I want to go back, sorry, to the rod kits that you ordered? You did musky ones. Did you get a company to donate those or are they a certain brand?
Yeah, so Mudhole Tackle is actually it's like primarily a saltwater tackle company, but they have rod building kits for all different species of fish. So like last year, like I said, we did multi-species, and they actually do have musky rod kits as well.
Okay.
So I purchased it through them, through that same company. And these are actually a two-piece rod, which I'm not necessarily like a huge fan of, but the shipping for the other rods was just like it was so expensive. But then I was thinking about it, and I'm like, a two-piece rod is actually good for a lot of students because they don't have vehicles, so they can break them down, put them in their backpacks, and bike to the river. So I'm actually sort of excited to see how those work. But yeah, same company, Mudhole. They have, even if you're not teaching something, even if you want to build your own rod, they have such a good inventory of things that you can just pick the exact, specs that you want for a rod and build it. And literally anybody can do it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Super
really
cool.
fun.
Awesome.
Great gifts for people. So
Yeah.
great, great company to work with just in general.
That's great. That's super cool. You went on, was it recently, a trip with your dad to fish brown trout?
Oh yeah, that was another thing. I don't want to say I get dragged into fishing with my dad because I obviously love it, but he's such like a troller and he loves trolling for fish. And I'm like, again, I just really like to be engaged when I'm fishing. But yeah, we had a couple of tough, walleye days on the bay. The walleye bite was not as consistent as it normally was in Green Bay. So we decided to just like change things up and troll for some brown trout. And I only had like a 4 hour span to fish like early morning before I had to come back and drive home. And we're like, we're gonna fish till noon and we're just gonna see what happens. And it was getting pretty choppy out there. We had 3 bites and we lost them all, of course, naturally, trout and salmon fishing, that just happens. And then right as we were coming in, to the harbor to pull our lines in, we're like, oh, we'll make one more pass around this area before we get in, and just got banged by a giant, like an absolute giant brown trout. My dad is not one to be like, oh, that's a nice fish. Like he's just very, you catch a 30 incher, like a 4 footer, and he's like, oh, all right. He was like taken aback by this brown trout. It's like, I don't know anybody that's caught one this big. And I don't know enough about trout and stuff. I was like, oh yeah, that's a nice trout. And he goes, no, that's like a really big brown trout. So he was definitely really jazzed about it. That whole scenario, I don't know what it is. Whenever I fish with him, we always just get into some sort of a shit show. And of course, pulling the trout in, it got tangled in 2 other trolling lines. And then naturally, my dad only had a small like walleye net because we weren't
Oh
anticipating,
God.
brown trout don't get that big. So we weren't anticipating like kings or cohos or anything. So the fish wouldn't even fit in the net. And it was just like it was a disaster. So by the time we got it in the net, it was a miracle. And we were both just like had to sit down because our hearts were racing for like 15 minutes because this fish obviously, fought like crazy. And my dog was in the boat, so he was all like in the commotion, and it was wild. Like I say this over and over. I need to get a GoPro, or I need to get some sort of video footage, because a video like that where it's such a cluster would, I just feel like, would go viral. Like it
It
would
would.
go, yeah, wild, but really
That's,
cool fish, beautiful fish.
yeah. How big was it?
It was 34 inches, 21 pounds, and it had a 23-inch girth. So it was just a massive brown trout.
Wild.
Yeah, massive.
That is so cool. Did you
Yeah.
guys catch any more that day?
Nope. My dad dropped me off at the launch, and after he caught that, he's like, well, I'm gonna go back out and try and catch some more. I'm like, let her rip. I'm done. Like I can't do any better than what I just did.
Yeah.
And then he went back out and he might have caught a couple more. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
yeah, big
Nice.
fish there.
Fun. Super
Hmm.
fun. Um, oh, I was gonna ask you something. I just forgot. It's my Sunday brain
Yeah, I feel that.
gone. Everything's just gone. Oh, I remember. Do you, I'll let you take a drink, but do you do any hunting?
I do. I do more waterfowl hunting than anything else.
Yeah.
Like I've always been a big bird hunter. I like shoot a deer, you know, gun season when I want to fill the freezer, but I'm not like a diehard bow hunter or anything. I'll sit like a half a dozen times a year and whatever else. But yeah, I love to waterfowl hunt. I've been doing that since I was probably like 12, 13 years old, and just love to shoot ducks. And I've done several trips down to Missouri and Arkansas for like snow geese, and um, took a couple trips to like Iowa to shoot Canadians, things like that. Like I love shooting birds, and I have a bird dog. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I love shooting ducks. That's my second favorite thing to do aside from musky fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I,
I just don't like freezing my ass off in the early morning calls. That's one thing that I don't enjoy about duck hunting. But
mhm.
other than that, it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have friends who do it too that you like get to go with?
Yeah, so not, I mean, I guess one of those things too where I feel like I have friends that do it, but they're not necessarily in Wisconsin, and none of my girlfriends waterfowl hunt.
Hmm.
So it's typically something I do primarily with my dad, or
Yeah.
like I said, when we go down to Arkansas and snow goose hunt, you're grouped up with people from all over, and we do group hunts and stuff just to kill in numbers. But
Hmm.
yeah, typically that's not one where I like have met people on social media and done
Yeah.
anything like that. Actually, I take that back. I did an all women's hunt in Arkansas a few years ago, and I was sort of had a bad taste in my mouth, if I'm being honest, about that women's hunt, because I was anticipating to like go in and meet all these women and like
Yeah.
shoot a bunch of birds, and we were in the the waterfall capital of the world in Stuttgart. So I'm like, this is gonna be sick. I want to shoot some mallards in the timber, and like I'm so excited for this. And I ended up going down there, and we ended up just shooting teal in a cornfield, which I'm like, okay, I probably could have done this in Wisconsin. But anyways, half the girls didn't even really know how to shoot a gun. So I was like, what the hell? Like all these girls are decked out in Sitka gear, and I'm thinking they're these huge waterfall hunters with like, thousands of followers on Instagram. And I'm like, I think me and one of the girls shot like, yeah, it was, yeah. I don't want to incriminate myself, but there was a lack of experience there for sure, which is okay. But for me, one of my biggest pet peeves is just like not being genuine. Like if you don't know how to hunt, that's okay. But by the way you present yourself holding all these birds and all these hunting experiences, like I would think that you would know how to operate a shotgun.
Hmm.
And that wasn't necessarily the case. So I hate that like fake,
Yeah.
disingenuine
Yeah.
stuff. But so
Yeah.
then when I did the women's retreat with Jesse last summer, I was like, oh boy, is this going to be another situation where like all these women that I think know how to fish and are like our big musky anglers, are they actually going to know how to fish, or it's just going to be another one of those situations? And it wasn't. So
No.
that was really refreshing. And there's a couple women that were a little more inexperienced, but they were great. It was a good crew.
Yeah. Like you said, it's all about like presenting how you present yourself and come in
Yes.
and be like, yeah, are you seriously holding ducks and geese on your Instagram page and you don't know how to, to shoot a gun? Like there's things like that. Like, come on, gotta just be yourself. And
Oh,
I'm like, I think that's one of my favorite things about myself is that I am so willing to say I have no freaking idea what I'm doing. I've
yeah,
never done most things on my own. I've always had my dad or my husband with me. And so like, I don't know, that's you just gotta own it.
100%. And people have more respect for you that way too.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's hard to be like a woman in the industry too, because there are just like some false advertising things. And I think sometimes that can give us a bad rap. So again, just be who you are. If you don't know how to do something, like that's fine. Nobody's gonna knock you for that. But to be somebody you're not and hold other people's fish or make it out to be like you're this guide or whatever it is, and you can't, like you're just making yourself look like a fool. I
Yeah.
actually there this past summer there was a couple pictures posted where this like younger girl caught like a really nice muskie, and there was like a cool video of it, and I'm like, hell yeah, like great catch, like great job. And then the pictures that she posted, she like took all her clothes off in a bikini. I'm like, dude, you just totally like lost my respect for that. Like I saw you catch this fish, it was amazing, like you did great, but then you literally like needed to feel like you needed to get undressed to take your pictures with the fish. And I just like that sort of thing drives me wild.
That's
Like why
hard.
you should be proud of your fish, not aiming to get attention for a different reason. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. That's just a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah, that gives me the ick, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Even like I'm this is something that I've never said, but I hate tan lines. So I'm either wearing a long sleeve and I'm dripping sweat, or
Yeah.
I'm gonna like just have a sports bra on or something.
Right.
And I remember like Kyle has the YouTube videos, like channel or whatever. And so I'm always really, I try to be really cognizant of like not doing that because I'm very much the opposite. No, no, like we don't need to show anything,
Yeah.
anything, anywhere. But also like it sometimes you just have to wear a sports bra. But to like get
Yeah.
undressed to take a photo, that will literally never happen.
Yeah. Like that's different. Like you want to fish in a sports bra or whatever. I like that. Cool.
Yeah.
That's great. But to intentionally take your clothes off
Yeah.
to take a picture, I'm like, all right. Like that's
That's
just, I feel like that just discredits your ability to catch that great fish,
we're
you
out here
know?
for different reasons, ma'am.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah, for sure. Oh gosh. Huh. Okay. Well, I have some fun questions for you. Let's get to know you a little better.
Right. Let her rip.
What is okay, two this kind of comes with two questions. What's your dream vacation that is not related to hunting or fishing?
Okay. I've always wanted to go to Thailand. I don't know
Ooh.
why. I had a coworker taught English like as a second language there, and I love a lot of Asian culture, and I love just like plants and tropical locations, and I just Yeah, I would love to go to Thailand.
Yeah. There's elephants there too.
Yeah, there's elephants there.
I
Yep.
only know that because my mom wanted to go to Thailand. God, actually, now that I'm saying that out loud, maybe it was right before COVID. Maybe that's why we didn't end up going. I can't remember why we didn't end up going, but she was all about the elephants. I'm like, oh, I'll go. I love a good vacation. But
Yeah, it's on my to-do list for sure.
oh, fun. Okay, now dream vacation to Hunterfish.
I would really love to shoot some eiders like on the East Coast. I've always wanted to do that, like just shoot some sea ducks and those big, beautiful king eiders. I'm just like every time I see a picture, I'm like, I just have to do that. Love to do that.
I don't even know what that looks like.
Yeah, just Google king eider and it's kind of like obviously wood ducks. They're like beautifully painted ducks here that we have in the Midwest, but eiders are just like much bigger, massive ducks and beautiful color. And I love sea duck hunting. And if I am waterfowl hunting, like layout hunting is my absolute favorite, where you're basically like on a flat skiff laying on your back and in the open water, and then ducks come over and you shoot them overhead. So I'd love to do that.
Wow, these are pretty.
Yeah.
Really pretty. How neat. Yeah, that'd be
So
sweet.
that's on the list too. I'll do that eventually.
Yeah, and those are on the East Coast.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool. Um, fave childhood memory.
Oh, geez. That's a tough one. Honestly, I think some of my best memories were going to Canada as a young kid, doing those fly-ins, and then my dad is sort of like he likes to live on the edge. He
Oh, I
likes to do
like
some
it.
reckless stuff sometimes. So just taking trips where you'd have to like portage or go through these rapids and get to these like little waterfall areas of fishing and have shore lunch. I love a shore lunch. I think that's so cool and special. And yeah, I think anytime I'm in Canada, I just love Canada fishing
Yeah.
there.
I absolutely love that. Also, let's talk about the fly fishing trips or like
Oh,
not fly
yeah.
fishing, fly-in trips. That's amazing.
Yeah, they're a little sketchy, but they are really cool. I think we flew in. Um, I don't know if they're still like a resort or a company, but we always flew in through Rusty Myers and you'd fly in on this seaplane that held like 2 to 4 people. And it was like this the whole time. And you
Yeah.
feel like you're in like a death trap, but you always make it. And it's so cool. You land on the water and you're just in this desolate area for like a week. And the water's so clean and pristine there. You literally just like dip your coffee cup in the water and you drink the water right from the lake. And you cook every meal by fire. And I live for that. I love that stuff so much.
Yeah. So was it just you and your dad doing that?
No, it was actually my family. So my mom, my dad, my
Oh,
sister. And my sister was never like she would go there and read a book, that's fine. She just never was into hunting and fishing like I was. And
uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah. So fun. How many times did you do that?
We probably did that 3 or 4 times. And then I went again a few years ago with my dad and my aunt and my uncle. Um, we went to a different location there. And then this year we're going to somewhere new too. So
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
I'm
What are
really
you,
excited.
maybe I missed it. What are you fishing for?
So I'm gonna fish for muskies because it's muskie opener in Canada that week. But majority of my family are gonna, target walleye and
Yeah.
bass and
Yeah.
stuff. So I'm just gonna have to take out the tinner by myself and
Yeah.
see if I can find a recruit to hopefully net a fish or two for me. But yeah, I'm gonna be targeting muskies for sure.
Fun. Yeah. You have to when you're, yeah. Musky opener, you have to.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you kind of mentioned that you like looking at plants, but fave hobby outside of fishing.
Um, I am pretty obsessed with pickleball. I know we had this discussion already. I just like sports in general. Like I like competing and I love playing volleyball. And my obsession this past year has been pickleball. And I play it like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a week at least. And I'll play in tournaments and stuff. And I'm obsessed with pickleball.
Yeah.
There's anything with my dog, hiking, taking my dogs for walks, doing training, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
pickleball is probably still the current obsession.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something about pickleball. I like it. And the people that play
Yeah,
are just like freaking competitive too.
yeah, I go hard. I don't care if you're 75 years old, like I'm giving it to you. But it's so cool though because like you play pickleball and you're going up against the elderly a lot of times, and you're thinking like, oh, I'm just gonna trounce this guy in his Velcro shoes.
No.
And they just like when I first started playing, they just whoop your ass, and you're like, okay, I misjudged this situation quite a bit. But now it's like, now I'm not afraid to put the hammer down on Betty and score some points.
Oh my God, literally that's hilarious. When I was in California, uh, another time, maybe this was actually the first time I played when I visited my mom last spring, I think. I my mom, one of our best family friends, she took me to, I don't even know where it was, this big place in California, and it was indoor pickleball. And same situation. There's like all these older people, and nothing against older people, but I was just like, this can't be that hard. And
Yeah.
yeah, got my ass whooped. Like, but it was fun too because they're like, "Oh, we can tell you're competitive because this is your first time playing pickleball and you're like catching on real quick." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I don't mess around. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna beat you."
It's so much fun. And honestly, it's such a good workout. Whenever I look at my Garmin afterwards, like I burn more calories than like my CrossFit workout. Like
Oh,
how did this happen? It's
yeah.
just like and you play for like 3 hours and you don't even realize it.
Yeah, it's so
And
fun.
then
It's so
these
fun.
people keep up with you. It's
I know.
crazy.
I know.
Yeah.
It's good pastime and like you said, it is like good for your heart too.
Yeah, for sure.
Fun. Okay. Favorite quote from a movie.
Oh, I really love Adam Sandler. So any Adam Sandler movie is good, but if you're one of my friends and we're texting, you've 100% heard or like had me message you True Dat Ernesto, which is from the movie. Just go with it. So
Yeah, 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 yeah. That is
I don't
such
know
a good
why.
movie.
It just sticks with me.
That's a great movie. I feel like now I grew up watching movies so like religiously. I feel
Yeah.
like we growing up we watched all the same movies all the time. Good a good array, but like lots of movies. And now I feel we Kyle watches so much YouTube that like, and which means I watch YouTube too, that we never really watch movies. So
Mhm.
I feel this is terrible, but when I think of like that, I'm either thinking of like The Holiday, like quotes from The Holiday, or quotes from like Superbad or She's the Man. Like,
Yeah.
so not a great array and nothing new, but like all those old
Yes.
movies.
Superbad definitely has some for sure. Or Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh,
$10
yeah.
Lord. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
obviously a classic.
Literally, literally. That was so funny. Tell us a random fact that you know that we probably don't know.
Oh
Anything.
boy. A random fact you don't know. I feel like I have some Martha Stewart-esque qualities in me. Like I
Oh,
absolutely love to decorate, and kind of like do DIY home projects and stuff. And I love to cook. Like I setting a table, like a fancy table setting and making flower arrangements and cooking like a 4-course meal is something I absolutely love. Like I
really?
paint, yeah. I'll make an appetizer. I'll have like a specialty cocktail. I'll have an entree. I'll make like creme brulee for dessert. Like I love cooking and I love like decorating and hosting for sure.
I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. That was a good one then.
That was a great one. And also we should do a girls' weekend and you can you can host us.
Yeah, I love it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I also love hosting, but I'm also not good at hosting. I just like people being at my house.
Yeah, like I don't really need to talk to everybody all the time, but I will cook and I'll make it look pretty, but I will be doing the dishes right away after dinner so I can avoid some sort of small talk. So it's like a mix.
Yeah. No, we're the kind of people that we like eat and then we leave.
Yeah, those are the best guests. Those are the ones you want. Yeah.
Yeah. That actually just made me think. My best friend Jordan, when we were at her sister's house, Abby's house, and Abby's like, "Oh, I'm having FOMO because I know you guys are both gonna drive home together, and I'm at my house, like we were at my house." And I'm like, "Oh, there's no FOMO needed because Jordan and I will not be talking the entire drive. Like we will just be looking out our separate windows, and that is that. Like that's the kind of friendship you want."
Yeah, for sure. Like you can have silence and it's not awkward.
Yeah.
Like you're just enjoying each other's companies for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Are you someone who likes to text on the phone or, jeez, text or talk on the phone?
Ugh, don't call me ever. I'm definitely a texter. Like, I don't even want to listen to a voicemail. That's terrible. If I'm calling somebody, it's like it's like for where do I go or where are we meeting or like what's this location or send me this pin or something. Like there's a purpose to the phone
Yeah.
conversation. If somebody's calling me to talk, I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's a struggle for me. Yeah,
It's got to
which
be
I
our,
talk. Yeah, I mean, I talk all day at work, so it's not like I can't have conversations with people and not be awkward. I just don't always enjoy it.
yeah, it's got to be our generation in the same way.
Must be.
If you're calling me, you better have something. Someone better be dying. There better be
Yes.
an emergency, or you
There's,
have something very serious to tell me. Otherwise, shoot me a text.
yeah, for sure. Which is crazy because if it's in a work setting, I can talk to anybody like all day and it's fine. But personal stuff, I'm like, just, I'm gonna drive home without the radio on. I'm gonna sit in my car or maybe on my couch and just like stare into the abyss. And I don't want anybody to interact with me.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Very introverted, same. Introverted extroverts.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay, last question. The sun is shining, jean shorts are on. What drink is in your hand?
Hmm. That's a good question. I guess it depends on what I'm doing. Like if I'm on
Mhm,
the pontoon, probably gonna have a cocktail
mhm,
potentially. Otherwise, I'm pretty lame. I'm just a big water girl. Like
mhm.
if I'm fishing, I'm drinking water
Yeah,
or maybe a bubbler, but
yeah.
yeah, I don't have any like specialty fancy drinks.
No, me
That was a
neither.
boring answer. Sorry about
No,
that.
no. What's your favorite cocktail drink?
Well, I love a Bloody Mary. So if I'm gonna
Ooh.
drink, I'm like very much a person that's gonna have an afternoon beverage. Like I'm not trying to stay up at night and have a hangover from two glasses of wine because
No.
that's the age that I'm at in my life. But I will have like an afternoon cocktail, a Bloody Mary, or I don't know, I'm not picky. I like sour beers too.
Yeah,
I can go months without drinking and be totally fine. And then I
same.
just like I've never been, I shouldn't say I've never been because I definitely had some fun in college, but I'm not a drinker anymore.
We all had fun in college.
Yeah.
Also, same. I'm a day drinker, and then 4 p.m., 6 p.m. hits, and it's like, oh no, now it's like chill and we're done. Like I'm not taking this into the evening.
Yeah, for sure. If I'm like feeling fancy and I'm visiting friends in Chicago, like I love a dirty gin martini. That's also
Ooh,
like I just love it.
really?
It's really good. Try it out sometime.
I feel like you need to have like a really good gin to like say if you like gin or not. And I've never had really good gin. I feel like maybe I've never had gin, but I feel like I've tasted it once and I'm like, oh, this is absolutely terrible.
I needly. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even feel like it needs to take good gin. I just have Tanqueray. The olive juice is what really makes it a good combo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That
Hmm.
makes sense. Yeah. Dang it. Sunday brain again. I just had something I was gonna say and now what was
Oh,
I gonna
that's
say?
your yeah.
Oh, going months without drinking. Literally same. And I think that when like the day that I say, like if I text like my sister or like someone and I'm like, you guys, I need a drink, they're like, oh, when and where? Because I'm never one to just
Special
like
occasion.
have a drink. But some days you just need one.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
need
for
one.
sure.
Take the edge off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm more of like a happy drinker. I'm not like
Uh-huh.
oh, I had a bad day, I need a glass of wine. I'm like, oh, this is a fun day, like the sun is shining. I like let's sit on the patio and have a
Yes.
cocktail.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
I'm not a drink to cope type of gal.
Oh no, if I'm sad or angry, I'm eating. So there's no
Yep.
oh, literally my sister and I are the complete opposite. She's like, I like can't even stomach food. And I'm like, oh, I'm a
Give me that bag of chips.
dumpster fire. I will eat whatever you put in front of me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why we play
dumb.
pickleball.
Right.
Balance.
Move that body. Fun. Well, Gabby, so fun. It's so fun to meet
Yeah,
you.
that was fun.
Yeah, I loved every second of this. It was good to get to know you a little bit better and talk about fishing. I absolutely love what you're doing with the kids. That is just such a big deal. And
I appreciate that.
I don't know, I hope this brings some more help to you and I'd like to talk more too about how maybe we can help too because it just I'm passionate about that as well. We don't
Yeah.
have we don't have any kids and to be honest, we don't know that we plan to have kids, but I still am very passionate about getting kids involved and they're our next generation and they're the ones who get to, when we've moved on and can't do these fun things anymore, they're gonna have to, so someone's got to teach them.
Yep, absolutely. And I just feel like there's sort of less of that nowadays than what I feel like there used to be. So
Yeah,
we need it. We
yeah,
need
for
somebody to
sure.
save our fisheries and
Yeah,
things like that. So,
yeah. And I want to call out to what you said earlier about the safe fish handling. Huge, huge, especially with muskies.
yep,
So
100%.
it's a big deal. Cool. Well, tell people where they can find you, follow you, all the things.
Yeah, so my Instagram handle is Bad Medicine Outdoors. So send me a DM there and we can get in touch, or Gabrielle Goes just on Facebook. And I'll give you all my school details and stuff like that.
Fun. Awesome. Well, thank you, Gabby. It was so nice to meet you, and we will catch y'all next time.
Great. Thanks for having me.
NetBuddy. Products that are innovative, allow any angler to be self-sufficient on the water, assist with resource preservation, and help keep your expensive gear safe. Matt's Musky Buddy is arguably the most innovative tool to hit the musky industry in the last 10 years. Whether it's a track, rail, or transom mount your boat requires, the Musky Buddy secures your net to the side of your boat after a muskie or other large fish species is caught, keeping the fish in the water while you grab your release tools, get your bump board ready, and camera. Talk about peace of mind. Knowing your trophy is less stressed and ready to release to grow even bigger, you can attach the Musky Buddy to any net and any boat. However, if you really feel like diving in, grab the Musky Buddy net, which has the Musky Buddy puck integrated into the yoke. This net uses the highest grade aluminum available in the musky net market and has been designed with a thoughtful and heavy duty design to ensure it can keep your trophy secure for years to come. This net is available in two sizes and features a coated 45-inch deep bag to help keep your trophy in the water regardless of the boat you own. If muskies aren't your thing, check out their neoprene rod, graph, and transducer covers to help keep your investments safe. Regardless of your fish species flavor, you can help support innovation, resource preservation, and quality products by checking out their website at thenetbuddy.com.